Well, hello and welcome everyone. Wow, can you believe it's been 3 years since the Digimon TCG's English release? And boy, what fun 3 years it was. And to celebrate this anniversary, I've decided to do a tier list of all the box sets released during that time. I'm gonna start with the core sets, so first is Special Release Boosters 1.0 and 1.5. I'm gonna talk about them together because it's basically the same set split into two. And yeah, I think those are pretty good sets. 1.0 did a good job of introducing all the colors and their mechanics, which is very important for the first set in a new card game. And it has a ton of cards that are still seeing play to this day. Stuff like Magna Angemon, Lilithmon, some of the memory tamers, and even some option cards as well. And then Booster 1.5 came out and just expanded on everything, giving us some stronger strategies for every color, some cards to boost strategies from the first set, and it gave us what's still probably the best blue tamer ever in Davis. So yeah, I think these sets deserve their place in the mega tier. Next is BT4, which in my opinion isn't as strong a set as the previous two. There weren't really any notable new strategies in the set, except Yellow War Greymon. I think that was the strongest deck during that format. Except for that, I don't think anything introduced in this set was viable. But it did have some cards that bolstered Shine Greymon as well, some good new memory tamers, and a bunch of good option cards. And it's also the set that gave us the first hybrid Digimon, so I guess that's a plus. And it also has a bunch of cards that saw success later in the game's lifespan. But at the time of release, I think it was kinda meh, so I'm gonna put it in the champion tier. Following that we have BT5, which in my opinion was a big improvement over BT4. It had a lot of fun new strategies, like Hex Blaumon, the new Diaboromon support, new stuff for Garurumon and Greymon decks, not to mention what was the best deck at the time, Lord Nightmon. Oh yeah, and Tactimon was in there as well, that's a fun deck. It also had a bunch of great level 7 Digimon, it introduced the Dual Tamers, and it also had the first ban card in the game's history, Mega Digimon Fusion. So yeah, this is another mega set. After that we have BT6, which is also a good set, but not as good as BT5 I would say. It did introduce some fan favorite archetypes like Jasmine and Three Musketeers. Well, that's mostly Bell Starmon, but you know what I mean. And it also had some Digimon from the latest movie, Kizuna, those being Agumon Bond of Bravery, Gabumon Bond of Courage, and Eosmon. And all of those decks, except Eosmon, saw competitive success. There were also a couple of fun new strategies like Azulongmon, Dynasmon, and Tidamon, along with the first Alphamon in the game. And like I said, it's a very good set. But it didn't quite have the same impact as BT5, so I'm putting it in the ultimate tier. And boy, this next one is interesting, BT7, aka the hybrid set. And boy, after this set came out, blue and yellow hybrids were everywhere, which made the game feel a bit stale honestly. It also introduced the first wave of X-antibody support, but it still wasn't their time to shine. And I think this might be the set with the largest number of limited cards in the game. So it also has that going for it. So yeah, it's a good set, but because of the state it left the game in at its release, I can put it higher than Ultimate. But the next one, the BT8 set, boy, now that's a good set. This is the set that introduced two colored cards. Well, technically the starter decks were first, but this expanded on those. And boy, they did a good job on those. Many of them still see play and are good to this day. But what really sets this set apart for me is the sheer variety of things you can build from it. It had support for Imperial Dramon, Armor Rush, Mastemon, Black War Greymon, Myodismon, Shivamon, some new X-antibody support, which made them playable, but they still needed one more push. And there was also stuff that was generically good for every color. Oh yeah, and the DNA Digivolution mechanic was also featured in this set, and it received some nice cards, most notably Chimeramon. So yeah, just a bunch of good stuff in here, which is why I believe this set deserves to be on the Ultra tier. After that we have BT9, which introduced the X-antibody mechanic. Oh yeah, when I said X-antibody deck before, I was mostly referring to Alphamon. But now everything had X-antibody. And boy, the game was never the same after this. This set made so many old decks better, while introducing a couple of new viable decks. And it also included one of my favorite decks in the Grand Drakmon line. It also included a ton of generically good cards, and probably the best secret rares out of all the sets till now. So it's very close in quality to BT8, but not quite there, so it's going in the mega tier. Following that we have BT10, which introduced the Digicross mechanic, and straight away catapulted 2 of those Digicross decks to the top of the competitive game, in Crossheart and Blue Flare. It also had new Jasmine support, Minervamon, which will be important later, and what's still the best green deck to this day, Bloom Lordmon. So yeah, another good set, but not as impactful as the previous two, so it's going in the ultimate tier. Next is BT11, which rivals BT8 in terms of variety of what you can build and upgrade from this set. There is new stuff like the Phoenixmon and Marsmon combo, the Sukamon and Metaletemon deck, new Mirage Galgamon and Unforce Vidramon stuff, the Galactimon deck, and support for older decks like Black War Greymon and Mastemon, and also Mervamon to go with Minervamon from BT10, and a bunch of new Crossheart stuff. So yeah, it's a very packed set, and I just love those. So it's another one for the Ultra tier. After that is BT12, which is more of an upgrade set. It mostly contains support for some pre-existing strategies, but it does introduce 2 new ones in Hunters and Shine Greymon, and those were some of the best strategies during that format. As far as what older strategy it bolstered, some of them are Red Hybrid, Imperial Dramon, Gallantmon, Unforce Vidramon, War Greymon, and of course Bilzemon, which already was a top tier deck and was now even better. So yeah, another set that goes straight to the mega tier. Next we have BT13, which introduced Burst Mode to the game and made Shine Greymon the deck to beat during this format. And it also introduced some newcomers to the competitive scene, those being Belphamon and the Royal Knights. And it also had Chessmon, one of my favorite Jank decks. And that's pretty much it that's notable for this set. It also had some support for Rosemon and Sukamon decks, but not enough to keep it out of champion tier. Which brings us to the final core set so far, BT14, which saw the introduction of the Ace Digimon mechanic. So we finally have something to do during our opponent's turn. And it's another set that's just jam-packed with good stuff. We have some new stuff like Mugamon, some new D-Brigade support, which finally made them relevant again, and just a bunch of good generic stuff. Most notably the aforementioned Ace Digimon. So this set really changed the way the game is played, and I for one am loving it. So that's another set for the Ultra tier right here. And now it's time for the extra sets, starting with EX1, which only had a few notable cards in it. The best card in the set probably being Analog Youth, followed by Ice Wong, which is still limited to this day. Other than that, maybe Machine Dramon can be mentioned, it's seeing some success lately. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But the good cards in the set are really good. And there are a couple other cards that are still seeing some play, so I guess I'll put it in rookie tier. Next is EX2, which is a set based around the 3rd season of the Digimon anime, Digimon Tamers. And I'm a massive Tamers fan. And when I saw that with this set I can build decks based around my favorite Digimon, and they weren't bad, I decided to buy a whole case of it, and I don't regret it one bit. And this might be me being biased, but it's another Ultra tier set for me. Which I can't say for the next set, EX3, but this one is at least better than EX1. The most notable card in this set is probably Hydramon, which was a good boost to the Bloom Lordmon deck. Other than that, it's just a bunch of new strategies. It have decks like Virus Imperial Dramon, the Lynx Dragon deck, which is another one of my favorite Jank decks. Then there's Examon, which actually saw some competitive success. And also the 4 Great Dragons deck and some D-Brigade support. But yeah, those were mostly decks to have some fun with, nothing to take too seriously. So this is another champion tier set. And the same can be said for EX4 as well. Had some fun new stuff, some support for older decks, and nothing really that notable. Oh yeah, except Shine Greymon Ruin mode, which is a very good card. But one good card does not make a set, so it's another champion tier set. And finally for the EX set is EX5, and it's actually better than the previous EX sets, except EX2. It has some genuinely good strategies, even some cards that are gonna be limited soon after its release for how good they are. And it also has a new Metal Monkey to go into the Poop deck. So yeah, this one is going in the ultimate tier. And finally the Reprint set, which also included some new cards, not just the reprints. And they were fine. Not too good and not too bad. Just fine. But of course the stars of the set were the reprints, and it had a lot of really good ones. Some cards from the first few sets that are still seeing play to this day, including some of the best memory tamers and fan favorite Digimon, some cards that were only available in starter decks before, promo cards that really needed a reprint, and the memory boosts as well. There were some cards that could be replaced with something else more important, but overall it's not bad for a first reprint set, so I'm gonna put it in the ultimate tier. And there you have it, all the Digimon TCG box sets so far ranked according to me. Let me know if you agree with the list, or if there's something I failed to mention you think it's important. And as always, hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you next time. Bye!